Come up with the idea.
College.
And all the neighbors would come.
Whatever says, I need someone to walk through this. I have an idea.
He loved guitar, and he never.
Stuffed animals.
He would laugh when I would do Shakespeare or something.
Kind of got to that place.
We finished the scene.
All right, so I'm Rossi Morreale. I was born in Fort Smith, Arkansas, where I got all the good old Southern homegrown roots to be able to go out in this crazy world and make it in the TV industry without losing my head. His dad was, he was the first Morreale born in America, straight off the boat from Italy, and was all about work. I mean, basically like graduate high school, get a job. Don't waste your time going to college, that kind of thing. And my dad was kind of the opposite, and he never really pushed him in baseball. Or my dad still is one of the fastest human beings I've ever seen in my entire life, but never had that push from behind to really, say, hey, it's okay, let's play sports. My grandfather was like, no sports, go work. Make money, then retire at an early age. Like, that was his whole thing. And so my dad, with me, was kind of just wanted me to go to school, wanted me to go to college, wanted to push me in sports or whatever passion I had. But at the same time, he didn't want to be that overbearing, you have to be an athlete, dad, or I'm not going to love you type of guy. So he's always supported me in everything I did. And luckily, I played all the sports that he loved. So my dad is my best friend in the world. We've always been very close. And he was... Once I got going, was very much, he coached me in Little League, all the way up until I got into high school and baseball. He was always at practices. I mean, he never missed a game. Even in college, he drove to Florida and Alabama and Louisiana to every college game that I played in. The funny part about it is, though, when I was like 6 years old, and in Arkansas, that's when you can start playing, full pad, full contact football, basketball, baseball. I was playing baseball at the time. I started playing baseball when I was 5, and at 6, I did not want to go play basketball, and I didn't want to go play football. And my dad was like, he didn't want to be that dad. He was like, hey, son, whatever you want to do, that's cool. My mom was like, get your clothes on, get in the car, we're going to practice. And I was like, fine, crying the whole time. And then once I got to the tryout and saw friends and saw these other kids, just fell right into it. But it was very funny. That very first thing when I was a little kid, my dad kind of tried to back off. Then once I was in it, he was just like, on me. My dad is a very good combination of, he's a good friend, but he knows when to be a dad. I don't have that relationship where, he doesn't discipline me or doesn't get on me. But at the same time, I know that I can tell him anything, and he's really good about, okay, so here's why you did wrong. Here's why this was stupid. Don't do this again. This was absolutely idiotic. I can't believe you do something like this. Now, let's fix it and get past it. Just don't do it again. And everything my dad ever told me, I never did again. If it was, drinking too much or, dipping back in Arkansas, and he was like, you need to stop doing it. You're doing too much. I quit, immediately. Just anytime he said, don't smoke. It's just not. You're an athlete. Smoking, it's not healthy for you. You don't need to smoke. Okay. But when Mom said it, it was a little different because Mom was like, don't smoke, don't hold hands, don't kiss, don't drink, don't drive too fast. And it was just like, okay, I got it. I'm going to do some of those. So it was a little different because my dad was so... He got it. He just got me. He wasn't one of those parents that acted like, hey, I never did something like that. He was like, hey, I get it. I was there, but I'll be there for you until I think you're doing too much of it. Then I'm going to intervene. And, you didn't really want to make Roscoe mad. I think. I don't know, because I never made Roscoe mad, so I don't know what he would do. Because my mom was the disciplinarian big time. She used to just spank me with these wooden machetes she got from Mexico, just right through a whack. She's from Arkansas though, so could be a redneck thing. Going into college, I walked on, got beat to death for 2 years, finally gained that scholarship, played college football in the SEC, 100,000 people, just total dream come true. By the time that was over, I wanted to be so far away from football and a weight room. I was like, okay, I accomplished my goals. It was fun, but now I'm over it. So I ended up getting a degree in marketing because I like business and marketing, was talking and selling people and things. So I was like, great idea. So I came to California on vacation for the summer. I had a ticket from June 1st to August 15th, 2000. So I come out here for the summer, end up in Hermosa Beach, and I'm just like, I'm never leaving. This is the greatest place on earth. Well, I'd come out with a buddy of mine who had sold me on this, hey, we're going to play in these volleyball tournaments and do this. I've got a place for you to live. And it ended up all being a lie, basically. He kind of sold me on this, I don't think you're ever going to come out, so here's how great my life is story. So when I got it here, the house he was talking about was where his sister and brother-in-law lived with their family in Palos Verdes. So that's how I end up. So they're just like, okay, so stay here, live with us, take care of the kids. Because I was like, perfect. So my job was to put people on tape and go out and find 18 to 25-year-old women to be on these reality shows. Not a bad gig. I'm like, you want to be on TV? It was that perfect pickup line. Then we started doing a show. We were casting a show called Junkyard Wars. And that is when all these people were coming through and they were auditioning. I was just putting them on tape.
Well, a lot of that story is based on like.
So my first on-air TV gig was on Temptation Island, and it was a reality show, and I was there just basically having the time of my life. But in doing that show and kind of seeing the fame and just the attention and the possibilities from that show made me realize that I love to be in front of camera, I love to entertain people, and this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I built him a deck and did all this, so I was doing work for him. There for the summer, had a blast. I was about to fly home, and he offers me a job selling commercial printing. It was sales. He was making like $1 million a year, and he was like 33 years old, and I was 23, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, he's like, I want to retire in 5 years. You take over. I'm like, 528 million, done. Let's do it. And I actually remember going home for Christmas, and people were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I moved out to California. Like, oh, we knew you'd do something like this. Bro, you're crazy. What are you doing out there? I'm like, oh, I'm selling paper and ink and, you know, and then you just kind of see him go like, that's not really what we thought. And I was just kind of like, I literally came back from Christmas. I was like, I got to get out of this job. I have to get out of this job. So I went and tried out for the Avengers to try to get back into football. And that was kind of my way out because I was like, you know, I can't do this my whole life. I got to do it while I'm young, still have the ability. They were like, great, you know, go do your thing. And so I started playing football, and I went and tried out for them. Came out the #1 receiver out of the camp they had out of 50 guys, but they were already oversigned by 2 receivers. So they already had to cut 2 guys before the season even started. So that was kind of my goal. I had 1 year to get back into football shape. In the process of that, I was walking through a building with a girl that was a friend of mine, and she wanted to introduce me to like her agent. She was always saying, you should be in entertainment, be a model. And I was like, no, I'm not going to be a model. Like, it just... Yeah, come on. She's like, go get some headshots. I'm like, watch your mouth. So she's like, well, listen, you act like an idiot all the time to make people laugh. Why don't you try to get paid for it? And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So we go meet her agents. As we're leaving the building, we see a sign on the wall that says Temptation Island casting. Now, this girl is like my best friend. I'm good friends with her boyfriend that she lives with at the time. So we just kind of bust in there, and we're like, we want to be on Temptation Island. We're a couple. We've been dating for years. Want to see if we want to go the next step, but not sure it's right. And they're just like, okay, great. This girl is kind of islandery, and they were looking for an Asian girl. I'm like, you know what? This really isn't working. I'm going to break up with you. I want to be a tempter. I want to go on the show, and I want to be a tempter. And she's like, what? You know, I'm pregnant with your child. I'm like, I've been sleeping with your sister. We don't even know if it's mine. I mean, just back and forth, back and forth. And then it just gets ridiculous. We start laughing hysterically. Meanwhile, this lady is like in shock, and this is Marky Costello, who's now my manager. She's like, okay, you guys are hysterical. And she looks at the girl, my friend. She's like, why are you hanging out with him? She's like, he's the funnest guy I know. I just love to hang out with him. And she was like, you've got to be on the show. Come back from that, and Marky, she was a casting director / manager. And she was like, why don't you come in and help me cast some of these shows like The Bachelor and Meet My Folks and all these little reality shows. I was like, perfect. So my job was to put people on tape and go out and find 18 to 25-year-old women to be on these